So, today an Arizona congresswoman by the name of Giffords was shot in the head. She is alive in critical condition. Doctors are optimistic about her recovery, but who really knows? Several other people were shot, 6 of them fatally, including a federal judge and a small child. The shooter was a 22-year-old man by the name of Jared Lee Loughner. Why do assassins always have 3 names? John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, James Earl Ray, Mark David Chapman, and now Jared Lee Loughner. If you know anyone who goes by 3 names, run the fuck away. Especially if you are a celebrity or politician. Hi, I'm TJ.
Hi, I'm Jacob Winthorpe Stevenson.
So, aside from the obvious, why should this assassination attempt matter? And I guess it's a little early to call it an attempt. It still could have been a success. I mean, she might still die. Well, does anyone remember Sarah Palin's famously in poor taste map of all the Democrats she wanted to take out of office? The map where she used gun sight crosshairs on districts she wanted the GOP to win back and wrote the words, "It's time to take a stand," on the top. And the Democrats were all like, hey, Republicans, you know, maybe this graphic isn't appropriate. This might give someone the wrong idea. And the Republicans are like, nah, you liberals are just a bunch of fucking crybabies. Ain't no go having. Quit crying. Well, Gabrielle Giffords' district was one of those districts that Sarah Palin put the crosshairs over. Now, does that mean Sarah Palin's to blame? Who knows? What I do know is that she took the graphic down before the suspect was ever mentioned in the media, before we knew who did this. She took it down. She also took down this tweet. Common sense conservatives and lovers of America don't retreat, instead reload. You know, maybe Jared Lee Loughner's politics shouldn't matter, but we all know that they do. And there's something of a variable at this point. The right wing is scrambling to try to make him look liberal, because if he's conservative, that means that Sarah Palin might have influenced him. So the more liberal they can make him, the better. So they're pointing out that on his reading list he had Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. They're also directing people to tweets by a girl named Katie Parker, who used to know Loughner, and described him as quite liberal and oddly obsessed with the 2012 prophecy. The left, on the other hand, is trying to draw attention to the fact that this guy had a fondness for Ayn Rand, who Republican Senator Rand Paul is named after. Another book on his list of favorites, Mein Kampf, Hitler's autobiography. He also talks about gold currency and how the government is not properly upholding the Constitution, which are talking points of people like Glenn Beck and Ron Paul, who is Rand Paul's father. It should also be pointed out that the girl who describes Loughner as a liberal hasn't known him since 2007. And a lot could have changed in 4 years. But let's be real for a second. A guy who puts on his list of favorite books both Marx and Rand, both Hitler and Harper Lee, this is a person whose mind is at ease with contradiction. This is a person with some serious cognitive dissonance. I think it's a mistake to try to put this guy in the left column. I think it's a mistake to try to put him in the right column. But here's the million-dollar question, folks. Could Sarah Palin's rhetoric have influenced today's events? Yes. Absolutely yes. They could have. And don't allow yourself to be caught in this debate about whether or not he himself followed Sarah Palin. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Even if he did follow Sarah Palin, maybe the graphic had nothing to do with this. Maybe her rhetoric had nothing to do with this. Maybe this is something that would have happened if Sarah Palin had never taken the national stage. Sometimes crazy is all the explanation you need. It's also possible that he doesn't follow Sarah Palin. He doesn't even like Sarah Palin. Maybe he hates Sarah Palin. But something she said, or something in that graphic, could have matriculated down and affected him. Because this is a guy, remember, that has latched on to a lot of ideas, both ultra-liberal and ultra-conservative. This is not a consistent person. So it is very possible that he latched on to something that Sarah Palin said and ran with it. But you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Because it's almost a certainty that today's hyper insane violence-charged rhetoric, and I think we know what side of the aisle it's coming from, that influences people who are on the edge. You know, when you put targets over people that you say you have to take a stand against them, when you say to people, don't retreat, instead reload, when that is your political rhetoric, shit like this happens. Maybe it's not Sarah Palin's fault, but it's the fault of everyone who is spewing this kind of rhetoric. Because unstable people latch onto that shit. But here's the thing, folks. Sarah Palin ran from this. She ran away. She took down the graphic with the crosshairs. She took down the tweet that says, don't retreat, instead reload. She took him down before we even knew who this guy was. What does that tell you? It tells you that she knew that this might have been her follower. She knew, and her reaction was to destroy the evidence, to get it out of there, to say that I disown this now. I once said that this was appropriate, I once defended this, but now that this has happened, I'm disowning it. Which to me says that she thought that she might have been culpable. She still thinks that she might be culpable. She doesn't stand behind it anymore. This day might, and I know it's pretty unlikely, but it might end Sarah Palin's career, and it should. Whether she's responsible or not, she thought she might be, and her reaction was to run away, to hide the evidence, to try to make the problem disappear.